So if you're an archer commander, it's been so long since the last time we made a Rise of Kingdoms commander investment tier list, and with the release of latest legendary commanders, I think it is time to make an updated one. You can ignore the epics at the bottom, we will only discuss the legendaries, and big shout out to the person who created this template, Omniarch, thank you. And now let's dive in. First, let's discuss the rows. Eyes closed means that regardless of your spending level or your role, the stage of your account, you can invest on those commanders. Troop type dependent and role/budget dependent, they're I think pretty self-explanatory. Only early game, you should only invest pre-season of Conquest. If you are close to season of Conquest, you should stop investing on these commanders. And ignore basically means you should not spend any legendary commander sculptures in these commanders. Let's start with this row because every single commander on this one is going to be ignore. The reason is, Minamoto, you can only purchase his sculptures with real money. FFLAT is completely free, and the rest of it, until Richard, the rest of it is just gold key commanders. If you're an experienced player, you already know that you should never ever spend your legendary commander sculptures on gold key commanders unless you are a very high spender and you want to perform as good as possible in early KVKs. Then people do invest commanders such as Mehmet, Charles Martel, etc. or even Double C to pair with Minamoto. But if that's not the case, you should never spend your legendary commander sculptures in these commanders because every sculpture you spend on these means that wasted sculptures that you could have spent it on the latest and greatest commanders. So do not invest any sculptures on gold key commanders whatsoever, and FFLAT is basically just free and she is pretty good. Richard, I will put Richard in only early game section. The reason why I didn't put him in ignore category because even in the late game, Richard do have certain uses. Barbarian chaining with YSG or other AoE commanders, Sunset Canyon like Richard is still, especially with low investment, less than 200 sculptures, 5511 Richard is I think still pretty good. Yi Song, I don't know what to say, but I'm sorry, but now I have to put him in only early game because of the latest commander, you already know it. We now have the YSG 2.0, the perfect substitution replacement for the late game instead of YSG. If you already have max YSG, I made a video about it discussing new archer commanders. I will have a card to the video after this one when this one ends. But for now, I think YSG should be in the only early game section. Charlemagne, Lubu, I don't think you can even summon Lubu. It was a limited commander, but don't worry, he's not good at all. Alexander the Great, again, goes into early game section, even though he's one of the best ones in the early game. Still, in the late game, I don't think Alexander the Great has a place. I mean, he does have a place depending on your troop type. If you're an infantry main, of course, Alex is still one of the best commanders. However, before maining a troop type, infantry, cavalry, or archers, I think there are certain commanders that are priority regardless of your troop type. Now, Constantine, this might surprise you, you might disagree with me, but I'm going to put him role/budget dependent. The reason being, Constantine is pretty much useless in every single mode in the game except one, and that is Sunset Canyon/Lost Canyon. And he's not only decent in these modes, he's actually one of the best, certainly one of the best commanders in Sunset Canyon and Lost Canyon, even at, you don't even need to max him, less than 200 sculpture investment. 5511 Constantine is quite literally game changing when it comes to Canyon mode. And if that's something that you care, some people don't care about Canyon, some people do, I think you should spend 190 sculptures on Constantine. I don't hate it. I mean, yes, I know the more you invest on these specific niche commanders, the less likely that you are going to be expertising your main commanders, the actual latest commanders. But still, if Canyon is something that you care about, I think you can invest on Constantine. Edward, sad to say, but I'm going to put both Edward and Genghis Khan into ignore category. Saladin, just like Alexander the Great, like they're pretty much the same commander, right? One is for infantry, one is for cavalry. Both are pre-season of Conquest, but both are still pretty good. And just like Alexander the Great, Saladin can be... Oh my god, if I keep doing this, the whole video for every single commander is going to take ages. I have to speed up. Yes, Saladin is still usable even in Season of Conquest. You can pair him with William or other cavalry commanders, etc. But if you are in Season of Conquest, this is certainly not a priority. So my risk, I would say it goes to role/budget dependent. Now, even if you are an archer main, yes, Tomyris is going to be great, so I could actually put her right here, but I prefer to put her in role/budget because the main use of Tomyris is, rather than open field in the latest KVKs, especially those big KVKs with Imperium Kingdoms, it's all about swarming structures. And that is a specific role, especially for high spenders. If you are one of those guys, yes, then Tomyris is a really good investment. But if not, I think she's still decent if you are just an archer main but you don't swarm structures. But I think the main people who should invest on Tomyris should be the ones who does swarm structures and greatly benefit from her debuff. Wu Zetian, ignore. Now, Artemisia, 100% troop type dependent. She is still very good if you are an archer main. Because if you're not an archer main, you will most likely have one archer march only, and Artemisia won't be included in that one archer march. Yes, a few months ago, I would say you can include her by pairing her with Boudica, but now, with the addition of this guy, Zoo, I don't think Artemisia will be one of the commanders that is in the top 1, like the best archer pairing. So she goes into troop type dependent. If you're an archer main, yes, at some point you want a max Artemisia, but if not, you can just definitely ignore it. I think Attila also goes into role/budget dependent category because he does still have some uses, just like Constantine, just like Tomyris. He's certainly not a top tier investment, but I also wouldn't say ignore completely if you are a spender. If you have the budget, yes, you might benefit from certain skills of Attila, whether it's a city rally to a certain garrison commander, but as I said, it is very niche, and for majority of players, I don't think you should invest on Attila or Takeda. I think they go just together. Guan Yu. My boy Guan Yu, one of my favorite commanders. I think he's still in the eyes closed category. And speaking of Guan Yu, let's just jump to Scipio, because I still think that even with the addition of Sargon the Great, and when he was released, I know that some people did disagree with me, maybe they still do, but I think Guan Yu and Scipio is still, compared to Sargon and Scipio, still the best one infantry march in the game, and that's why I will have Guan and Scipio in the eyes closed category, but Sargon in troop type dependent, because if you're an infantry main, just like archers and Artemisia, for infantry, Sargon, yes, it's going to be one of your investments at some point, but for one infantry march only, I still think that Guan Yu and Scipio is certainly the best one infantry pair. Let me know if you disagree or agree with me, because this is a huge debate in the community right now. Leonidas, I mean, come on, we are Spartan Gaming, but we have to be real, we have to be honest. I don't even put him into troop type dependent. Even if you're an infantry main, I think before you start investing on Leonidas, even though he's good at 5-5-1-1, I would say just completely ignore him. And same goes for Ramses. Ramses is really good. I mean, he was really good. But with the addition of new archers and the previous generation like Henry, Boudica, all that, I think he also goes into ignore category. If you're a new player, if you haven't invested on any archer commander and you want to have one archer march, or even you are an archer main and you are going to invest on your second archer march, I think it doesn't include Ramses. Chandragupta, certainly role/budget dependent. If you're a high spender, he does have, just like Tomyris, let me put them together. His debuff is really good when it comes to swarming structures, so I would just put him into role/budget. Cyrus, I put him on troop type dependent. I'm thinking about at least 3 archer marches. If you go 2 archer marches, no, you don't invest on Cyrus, he goes into ignore. But if you're going for 3 archer marches, in that case, both Cyrus and Ramses can actually pair together and become your third march. But then, how about Tomyris? How about other archer commanders? That's why I'm just going to put him into this category, ignore category, because people with 3 archer marches are very rare. And since this list for majority of players, I will just put them into ignore. Next up, we have Harold. Either goes into troop type if you're an infantry main, or he can go into ignore category. But if you're going for 2 marches, 2 infantry marches, this means that there's a high chance that you already have Alexander the Great. Then in that case, you can decide between Harold and Sargon. And I think even though I love playing with Harold, for versatility, we could actually invest on Sargon rather than Harold. That's why I'm going to put him into ignore category, but we could easily also put him into next to Sargon, troop type dependent. But for now, let's just put him into ignore, because for majority of players, even though you're an infantry main using 2 infantry marches at least, I think first you need to invest on Sargon, Guan, and most likely you already have an Alexander the Great, and if not, definitely goes into troop type, but as I said, for most of Rise of Kingdoms players, he goes into ignore. Nebuchadnezzar, I think he is one of the best archer commanders still in the game. His AoE is really good, 5-target AoE. Other stats of him also pretty decent, so Nebu, I think, does have a place in the troop type dependent category. If you're an archer main, you will, at some point of your Rise of Kingdoms journey, you will most likely invest on this guy, at least like a 5-5-1-5. I think it was the best configuration for Nebu for low investment. Theodora can go into role/budget for city rally defending city garrison only, but it's just for very high spenders who want to have like a very specific commander against a very specific rally for the best, absolute best result. So I'm just gonna put him into role/budget dependent. Moctezuma, eyes closed. Of course, I'm kidding, just ignore. Trajan, again, role/budget, because if you're using commanders like Trajan, Honda Tadakatsu, these commanders are going to be your 5th, or not even 5th, your 6th or 7th march. And if you're not even able to unlock that 6th or 7th march, then there is no point of investing. But if you're able to do that, yes, a Trajan Honda combination is going to be really good. But if not, I don't think so. I think it goes into role/budget. It is too good to put into ignore category. That's why I'm going to put him in here. If you're a high spender, going for 6-7 march, as I said, you can certainly invest on Honda Tadakatsu. William, just like XY, still one of the best cavalry commanders in the game. If you're going for 2 cavalry marches, most likely it's going to be Nevsky John, XY William. I think these 2 marches are the best ones. Yes, you can use Honda instead of William, but I think William is still better than Honda if you're in cavalry main. Yi Sun Sin, just like Theodora, Zenobia, and Amanitor, I think she is okay, she's decent, especially with the release of, where is she, Dido. Dido also goes into budget/role dependent category. Even though the latest reports of Dido are crazy, she's just basically smashing everyone, every single rally. She's not versatile. She's not good at open field, she's not good at PvE, she's just good at Garrison, and for vast majority of players, we have to have versatile commanders. We cannot have a one best specific commander for one certain occasion, certain scenario. We have to go for versatile commanders. So even though she is so good, she goes into role budget dependent category with a monitor. And this guy CJ, some people really like him, but I just don't see any value of investing on him. Even if you are an infantry main, I think he goes into ignore category. Gilgamesh, we could certainly put Gilgamesh into role/budget dependent, but since now with the new archer commanders, we have better rally options, and I think he goes into ignore category. If you're a super high spender, just like my man Justin, yeah, you pretty much max every commander, then this tier list doesn't mean anything to you. But for my fellow free-to-play low spender or even mid spenders, I think Gilgamesh is just an ignore tier. Jadwiga is just a really good cavalry garrison, so she goes into role/budget dependent. Pakal, he's just so good at one specific thing, and it is when you just pop up from your city, pair your Pakal with any other infantry commander, most likely Herald if you want to specifically abuse that mechanic. You just get swarmed by your enemies and you trade positively. Like this guy, when it comes to that specific action, he is just so broken, so that's why I'm going to put him into role/budget dependent. And also, he's heavily used for infantry rallies, Tariq Pakal. That's why he goes into role/budget. Suleiman, I think, ignore. Now, Bertrand, people are trying to break Dido with Bertrand, and that's why it's going to be pretty sketchy. I mean, we can put him into ignore, but in case he is the answer to Dido, I haven't seen the tests yet, but if that's the case, he definitely goes into role/budget tier, and that's why I'm kind of hesitant to put him into ignore category. Let's see how he works against Dido, and after that, we will decide if he goes into ignore or role/budget. Boudica, obviously, eyes closed. Flavius, I mean, he's good, like you can pair him with Zenobia, etc. So I guess for high spenders, he goes into this tier. Henry, definitely troop type dependent, because now the difference between, let's say, Henry and latest commander Dido is that, yes, just like Dido being a garrison, Henry is specifically for rallies, But Henry also is really good in the open field. So he is versatile. So if you're an archer main, you can certainly consider investing on Henry and even pair him with Zoo. I think they're going to be a great pairing for the open field too. So the versatility Henry brings on the table is, I think, pretty good. And by the way, don't mind me, definitely this guy goes into Eyes Closed category. Like, such an amazing commander. You're going to see him everywhere on the field. I will invest on him at some point, not soon, because I'm still trying to max out my Joan of Arc, and I might actually stop my Joan of Arc project because she's already at 5115, like perfect low investment configuration, and just start investing on this guy. I haven't decided yet, but I don't know. Stay tuned for that. Make sure to subscribe and we see what happens. Let's speed up just a little bit. Yanziska, Tariq, and like all these commanders, they go into role/budget depending category. Like, they are good commanders, but they are very specific, very niche. They're not versatile, so these are not for us. These are not for free-to-plays. These are not for low spenders. These are for at least mid to very high spenders for specific occasions. Nevsky John, hands down, still the best cavalry march in the game. I think they definitely deserve Eyes Closed category. And these guys, I'm just going to put them into ignore section to finally end this video. Oh my god. Whew. Well, this is our June 2023 Rise of Kingdoms Legendary Commander investment tier list. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And here is the video where we discuss latest archer commanders and who should invest on them, especially if you already have a Boudica and Max YSG. Make sure to tap on it, and I see you there.